Hello and welcome back to Haywire34. Today we're in week 8, yes. And today we shall be covering chapters 19, 20 and 21. And I really hope you enjoyed them. Chapter 19. Spying Sarah walking by, Penny rapped frantically on the floor-to-ceiling window of Beam Cafe to attract her attention. Looking round and spotting Charlotte and Penny inside, Sarah looked surprised. "What are you doing in there?" she mouthed. Penny lifted up her cup of green tea in response and beckoned in Sarah. Weaving her way through the midday bustle of mothers and babies in the cafe, Sarah eventually reached her friends. "I've been looking for you," she informed Penny as they exchanged kisses on the cheek. "Hector said you were at the baker's getting some sourdough baguettes." "I was. That's where Charlotte and I bumped into each other and decided to come here for a green tea and a chat." "Hi, Charlotte," Sarah greeted, making her way to the other side of the table to kiss her too. Charlotte didn't respond. "I hope I'm not interrupting," Sarah asked Charlotte. No, not at all," she replied. "Are you all right? You look upset." "No, it's actually, yes, I am upset," Charlotte admitted bitterly. "I've thrown Nathan out." "Whoa, what?" "That's what I wanted to have a chat about," Charlotte told Penny. "But naturally, with what's currently going on, we began with the Mick situation." "I did think you looked sad, but I just put it down to Mick, so I didn't ask. I'm so sorry." "It's okay, that's more important." "What happened with Nathan?" Sarah asked. "He's cheated on me so many times, and this was the last straw." "What?" Penny exclaimed, as she and Sarah stared agog. "But you always look so happy together," Sarah recalled. "Look" being the operative word, Charlotte retorted. "I love Nathan to bits, but I've never been enough for him." "Oh, Charlotte," Penny exclaimed. "It is what it is," Charlotte shrugged. "But are you sure he's cheating this time?" Sarah inquired. "He may have changed and you may be reading the signs wrong because he's done it before in the past." "No," Charlotte smiled sadly. "I had my suspicions," she confessed. "And then he pocket-dialed me yesterday and I heard enough to confirm those suspicions." "Whoa!" Penny cried. "Ouch!" "Ouch indeed," Charlotte concurred. "I called to let him know that Mick was in hospital, but the call went to voicemail. I sent some text messages, but I didn't get any response from him. But his phone responded. It dialed me by accident." Charlotte laughed dryly. "Karma," Sarah declared. "And you know what they say about karma." "When did all this happen?" Penny asked. "While we were at Gretchen's and Mick's." "What? No way." "Yes way." "But you didn't show it," Sarah remarked. "I've had years of practice," Charlotte smiled sadly. Just then the waitress came to the table. Neither Charlotte nor Penny noticed her. "Sorry, guys," Sarah interrupted, pointing to the waitress. "Would either of you like something else?" "No thanks. No thanks," Penny echoed, without shifting her stunned gaze from Charlotte. "I'll just have a green tea, thanks," Sarah told the waitress. She returned her attention to Charlotte. "I don't know how you didn't go to pieces after the call." "Me neither," Penny agreed, looking at Charlotte with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. "Why are you tempted to call him back and have it out with him immediately?" "I'm done having it out with him," Charlotte declared. "So what did you say to him when you both got home?" Sarah quizzed. "I didn't." "So he doesn't even know you know?" "He found out 1 a.m. this morning when he got home and couldn't get in." "You locked him out?" Penny gasped. "I did more than that," Charlotte sniggered. "I got an emergency locksmith to change the locks, and then I packed up a suitcase of clothes for him and left it outside the front door." "Ooh," Penny exclaimed, standing up to ease the pain in her legs, as Sarah stared wide-eyed at Charlotte. "Have you spoken to him since?" Sarah asked quietly. "No." "Are you going to?" Penny inquired, sitting down. "No, I got a solicitor first thing this morning. I'll let her do the talking." "But you've got to speak to him at some point, surely," Penny reasoned. "No," Charlotte confirmed. "I'm done." "Gosh," Sarah sighed. "When it rains, it certainly pours, doesn't it?" Penny leaned over and hugged Charlotte. "I'm so sorry to hear this," she told her. "It is what it is," Charlotte responded. "So what now?" Sarah asked. "Dunno," Charlotte shrugged. "Are you scared?" Penny wondered. "I'm petrified," Charlotte admitted, holding her gaze. "It has been a long time since I was on my own. But whatever lies ahead has got to be better than my current situation, right?" Charlotte added. "Right," Sarah replied. "Oh, Charlotte," Penny cried sadly, as she and Sarah hastened to hug Charlotte, who was looking on the verge of tears. "I'll be fine," Charlotte told them quietly, quickly wiping away a stray tear that was tracing its way from her eye. She looked at her watch. "I've got a dash. I only took the morning off work," she explained, as Sarah requested the bill from the waitress who was cleaning the table beside theirs. As the three women got up to leave the cafe after they'd settled their bill, Sarah asked, "Any news from Gretchen?" "Other than the text this morning saying surgery went well without too many complications, but the next 7 days will be the decider." "No," Penny replied. "I mean since that text," Sarah explained. "No," Charlotte responded. "I tried calling, but she didn't answer," Penny added. "Shall we go and see her?" Sarah suggested. "I called round before going to the bakery, but she's already left for the hospital," Charlotte informed. "Is anyone with her?" Sarah asked Charlotte. "No, she wants to be alone." "Oh, God, poor Gretch," Penny sighed. "I wish there was more that we could do," Sarah added sadly. "I know," Penny agreed, "but we have to comply with her wishes." "Shame I can't have Nathan trade places with Mick right now," Charlotte hissed. "Mind what you wish for," Penny warned, as she and Sarah hugged Charlotte goodbye and headed back to Penny's. End of chapter 19. Chapter 20. "Poor Charlotte," Penny said as she and Sarah headed on their way. "I know. It goes to show, though, that you never know what's going on in anyone's home." "Yes, I thought they had an amazing relationship." "So did I," Sarah revealed and then paused. "They were both with other people when they met, weren't they?" she asked. "Yes." Sarah cast Penny a knowing glance. "You lose them how you get them." "I know, but," Penny said, pulling her face, "she doesn't deserve this." "I'm not saying that she does," Sarah clarified, "but if Nathan could cheat on his ex-wife with her, then chances were that he would do the same to her." "The same could be said of Charlotte, but she's never cheated on him." "That you know of," Sarah interjected. "Sarah!" Penny laughed. "When did you become so cynical?" "In Windlesham." Penny eyed her with amusement. "Windlesham?" "Sally's home," Sarah announced abruptly. "That's wonderful!" "She's left Tarquin." "No way! Why?" "He was a serial cheat." "Oh, no." "Yes, with men." "What?" "And he's taken to cross-dressing." "What?" Penny cried, beginning to laugh. "Seriously." Penny laughed louder. "And we talk about the Tarquin, I know." "Yes, Sally's Tarquin." "Then I know that this is a wind-up." Sarah too began to laugh. "It's hard to imagine, I know, but I kid you not," she vouched. "Come on, Penny, this is me, Sarah. My imagination is incapable of stretching that far." Stopping, Penny regarded Sarah for a moment, and then began to laugh again. "Tarquin, a cross-dresser? Stop it." "I'm not joking, Penny." "But he's as alpha male as they get." "I know. And a ladies' man until Sally came along." "Supposedly." Stopping again for a moment, Penny regarded Sarah. "You're not joking, are you?" "No." "Oh, my God, poor Sally." "Yes." "How is she?" "Devastated." "How did she find out?" "The cross-dressing bit was when she came home early one day and found him dressed up." "Oh, my goodness!" Penny exclaimed. "Were there no clues before?" Rupert asked the same thing, but no, none. Jesus Christ! It really does go to show that you never really know a person. I know. Processing what Sarah had told her for a moment, Penny shook her head. "I can't get my head round any of this." "Me neither," Sarah said in agreement. "How do you marry someone all the while knowing that you're another way inclined and that you're going to hurt them one day?" Penny looked troubled. "Tarquin's always so sweet," she recalled. "I can't believe that he would marry Sally with the mindset that he would hurt her." "Well, what did he expect would happen?" Sarah demanded angrily. "I believe he genuinely loved Sally, and that's why he married her," Penny suggested. "That's what Mummy said. She reckons that Tarquin fell in love with Sally the person and not Sally the woman, and so thought it would last. I agree. We all think it's going to last when we fall in love. You can't be in love with someone if your entire relationship is based on a lie. But maybe for Tarquin it wasn't. Maybe he genuinely believed that the love he felt for her would be enough." "But she's the wrong sex for him," Sarah declared angrily. "I know, but he should have told her, Penny. The moment he thought she may be falling in love with him, he should have told her." "I agree, but it's not an easy thing to tell someone." "Granted," Sarah conceded, "but marriage is supposed to be based on honesty. That's a huge lie to start one on," she asserted. "I agree, but maybe he felt that he loved her enough for it not to be a problem." "Rubbish," Sarah snapped. "He used Sally as a cover." Turning, she faced Penny. "You should have seen Sally when it was just her and I. She's so devastated." "I can imagine, poor thing," Penny sympathized. "The cross-dressing was a huge shock for her, but she tried to work through it." "But with the gay part, what made him decide to tell her after all these years?" Penny interrupted. "He didn't. Someone she knew had a friend who was raving about some rugby-playing boyfriend he has, and it turned out to be Tarquin." Oh, Lord, poor Sally. That's not even the half of it, Sarah snarled. It turns out he was notorious on the gay scene for lots of one-night stands. Tarquin? Yes! How did Sally find out? The same person. Apparently, when he confronted his friend about Tarquin being married with kids, it wasn't news to him. What? And he didn't care? No, Sarah replied. Apparently Tarquin told everyone that he and Sally had an agreement that so long as it was kept away from her sight and from their girls, then it was okay for him to do as he pleased. Had they agreed that? Penny checked. Of course not. What a sordid mess, Penny exclaimed. I can't believe that this is the same Tarquin. Why not? He was known as quite a Lothario before Sally. It's the same characteristics. I know, but he was single then. Hurting people is bad, Penny, whatever your marital status. Fair point, Penny conceded. Poor Sally. I know, Sarah agreed and then paused. How does one get over something like this? How do you learn to trust again? I don't know, Penny replied, but I'm glad Sally's home and away from the drama and embarrassment. Me too. It suddenly started to rain. Typical, Sarah frowned, as rushing under the scaffolding near the door of Sainsbury's, they took cover. A summer without rain is obviously asking too much. I wish it had waited until we got in, Penny interjected, as she wiped the rain off her naked arms. Do you need to pick up anything while we're here, so that I can help you carry it back with us? Sarah offered. No, we're good, thanks. Let's try and get back quickly before the rain gets worse. Too late, Sarah told her, pointing to the swords of rain that were stabbing the pavement repeatedly. Let's go in anyway and have a look around. Hopefully the rain will soon die down, Sarah suggested, and led the way into the supermarket. So, where were we? Sarah resumed once they were inside. No more, please, Penny implored. It's all too depressing. I've got some good news, Sarah declared. Oh, thank God, Penny sighed. Rupert's not having an affair. Ah, Penny exhaled with relief. The woman you saw that night. I never said that I saw him with a woman, Penny interrupted. You didn't need to, I guessed. I remembered what you said about your eyesight. So? There's nothing wrong with your eyesight, Penny. You're the only one out of all our friends who doesn't even need glasses to read. So I figured out that you must have seen something. A case of the lady doth protest too much? Sarah told her with an accusatory smile. Penny responded with a guilty smile. Quite, Sarah riposted. We'll discuss that another day. Anyway, the woman's a headhunter. Rupert's lost his job. What? Is that what you call good news? Penny demanded. It's better than an affair. It's still bad news, Penny said. That's life, Sarah shrugged. There are worse things happening to other people. I know, and I feel bad complaining, but it's exhausting, Sarah. We need some good news in our circle. We just did, Sarah reminded her. Mixed waste management plant in Nigeria. And straight after, he's at death's door. Where's the break in that? End of chapter 20. Chapter 21. In the hushed stillness of Royal Free Hospital, Gretchen's footsteps echoed through the sterile corridors as she made her way to the ICU East ward on the 4th floor. Her heart hammered in her chest, her left hand gripping the rosary beads in her pocket like a lifeline. For the past 3 days, the beeping of machines and the constant hum of the hospital became the backdrop to Gretchen's vigil. Her world had narrowed to the room and the bed where Mick lay, his once vibrant presence now reduced to a fragile, unmoving form amidst a tangle of tubes and wires. Each hour spent at his side, an excruciating blend of hope and despair that consumed Gretchen. The gentle rise and fall of Mick's chest, the rhythmic beep of the monitors, these were the only signs of life in a body that had once been so full of vitality. Gretchen's heart ached with the weight of uncertainty, each unanswered question only fueling her anxiety. How much more can Mick's body take in this weakened state? Gretchen wondered every minute. If he makes it, in what state will he be left? How am I going to break the news to the boys when the end comes? Each day, as she sat, hour after hour, in the dimly lit hospital room, Gretchen struggled to find the strength she knew she would need. Oh, God, please, she cried aloud when despair threatened to consume her. The fragile balance of Mick's life and her own emotional turmoil were mirrored in Gretchen's face, but she continued clinging to the belief that God would see them through this, even as the days dragged on and the unrelenting rhythm of beeps from the hospital equipment threatened to wear her down. But today, as Gretchen approached Mick's bed, she found it empty, the linens fresh and crisp. "Oh, my God!" she cried silently, as terror dried her throat. She could hardly breathe, her mind racing with countless worst-case scenarios. With frantic steps, Gretchen rushed to the nurse's station, her voice cracking with desperation. "My husband! Where is he? Please tell me where my husband is." The nurse looked up from a chart that she was reading. Gretchen's world spun as she stared into the unfamiliar face of the woman. She'd not seen her before. The woman's eyes were kind, but they held an uncertainty that sent a shiver down Gretchen's spine. "What's his name?" the nurse asked Gretchen. "Mick Hansen," Gretchen managed to choke out, her voice barely a whisper. "He's been here for 3 days, after an open right hemicolectomy for a perforated appendix, which was located under the ileocolic vessels." Gretchen spouted in a perfunctory babble. These were the words she'd been told after Mick's surgery, that she'd written down and memorized. The words that said a lot, but meant nothing to her, except that they may mean death for Mick. "Oh, and he also had a formal resection and sepsis," Gretchen added quickly, in case it expedited the search for him. The nurse's fingers flew across the keyboard, the click-clack of the keys echoing in the sterile silence of the ward. Gretchen's heart pounded in her chest. Time seemed to slow to a crawl, each passing second stretching into an eternity, as she braced herself for the words that would change her life forever. "He's no longer with us," the nurse said, her voice seeming tinged with regret. Gretchen felt her world crumble around her, a gasp escaping her lips as the tears began to flow. "No, please, not Mick!" The nurse's eyes widened, her hands raised in desperate attempt to clarify. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I meant he's been moved. He's not in the ICU anymore." Gretchen froze, her mind struggling to process the words. "Moved? Where?" "He's on Epic now," the nurse explained, a hint of relief in her voice. "He's in room 3, on the enhanced post-operative care ward, downstairs on the 3rd floor." "Why?" Gretchen demanded, her voice a mix of hope and fear. "He's no longer in the coma," the nurse replied, a gentle smile spreading across her face. "He's woken up, Mrs. Hansen." Gretchen felt her knees go weak. The weight of the past few days suddenly lifted from her shoulders. He's awake?" "Yes," the nurse nodded, her eyes shining with empathy. "You'll find him on the 3rd floor." Tears of joy streamed down Gretchen's face, her heart swelling with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, she repeated, her voice trembling with emotion. "Thank you so much." With a new sense of purpose, Gretchen turned and made her way in the direction of the lift, her footsteps echoing down the hallway. She wanted to run all the way to the 3rd floor, shouting, "He's awake!" But instead all she could muster was a whisper of, "Thank you, God." Gretchen could feel the warmth of hope spreading through her chest, the anticipation of seeing Mick's eyes open and full of life once more. Her steps quickened without her input. Moments later, Gretchen stepped into the lift, her heart pounding with anticipation. The metal doors slid shut, and she felt a momentary claustrophobia, as if the walls were closing in on her. But then, with a soft ping, the lift began its descent, carrying her closer to Mick with each passing second. The numbers on the display panel seemed to crawl by, each one a milestone on her journey. 3, 2, 1. And then, with a gentle lurch, the lift came to a halt. The doors slid open. Gretchen stared past the waiting faces to the opposite wall. It said ground floor. She felt a wave of frustration wash over her. "Oh, for God's sake!" Gretchen hissed silently, as she realized her mistake. She had been so caught up in her thoughts, in her anticipation of seeing Mick, that she had forgotten to press the button for the 3rd floor. With a heavy sigh, she reached out and pressed the number 3, her finger lingering on the button for a moment, as if to ensure it registered her command. The doors slid shut once more, and the lift began its slow ascent. Gretchen's focus was on the digital display, the numbers ticking up with agonizing slowness. Once more the doors slid open, this time revealing the 3rd floor, the enhanced post-operative care ward. Gretchen stepped out, her steps purposeful and determined, as she made her way down the corridor, eagerly looking to see the number 3 on the door. The air was filled with the same sterile scent of the ICU, but there was something different here for Gretchen. She felt a sense of hope of recovery. Finally, Gretchen reached the door marked with the number 3 and Mick's name. Gretchen stopped, her hand trembling as she turned the handle. Finally pushing the door open, Gretchen revealed the room beyond. There in the centre lay Mick. Gretchen rushed to him. His body was still connected to a myriad of tubes and wires, and his bed still hummed and vibrated sporadically. But his eyes, those beautiful, soulful eyes, were weak but open. Gretchen's breath caught in her throat as their gaze met, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them in that moment. Mick's face was pale, his features drawn with the pain and exhaustion of his ordeal. But as he saw Gretchen, a weak smile tugged at the corners of his mouth, his gaze unsteady but loving. Gretchen rushed to his side, her hands reaching out to grasp his, their fingers intertwining with a familiarity that brought tears to her eyes. "Mick," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. His smile widened. "Hello, you," he whispered, barely audibly. "Oh, Mick," Gretchen whispered in response. "I'm here. I'm right here." His grip on her hand tightened ever so slightly. "I know," he murmured, his voice hoarse but steady. "I've been waiting for you." In that moment, as they held on to each other in the still quietness of the hospital room, Gretchen wanted to shout, "He's awake! He's alive!" But she was content to smile inanely at his sunken eyes and gently stroke his face and pray that Mick would not relapse, as was a possibility for major sepsis cases like his. End of chapter 21. Gosh, everything with these lots seemed to be good news, bad news, good news, bad news. Charlotte, poor Charlotte. Can you imagine? You've got these suspicions, but at least there's still that hope that, you could be wrong. And then the pocket dial thing. And you hear what you know or what you thought was going on. That's my first question. What would you do if you were in Charlotte's position when that happened? Would you, like her, just not say anything to the person and go home and change the locks like she did, get the divorce lawyer, put him out? Would you do that? Or would you, as Penny and Sarah were like, have it out with him, call him back. I heard you, and have it out with him. What would you do? Whew. And then the next is Mick and Gretchen. Oh, poor Gretchen. Can you imagine that moment when you come back and the bed is empty, cleanly made? Can you imagine the turmoil she must have gone through, even though it was for like a few seconds? Oh, that's heavy. I wouldn't like to go through that. And if any of you have gone through that, I'm sorry for, the pain you must have gone through then. And if any of you went through that when you did come back, the person, your loved one, was no longer with us, my condolences, my deepest condolences. I can't imagine how that must have felt. I'm sorry. That brings me to my question. How, what now? You know the person's better, so you exhale from that, but they're not out of the woods yet. How would you react? Would you be excited? Would you be still scared? What? I'd love to know. Please, as usual, all your comments in the comments section. And thank you so much for having come back. And I look forward to next week, which will be week 9. Until then, have a fantastic week and take care. Bye-bye.